Hey guys, YouTuber 100 here. Alright, and now here I am with another classic monster movie review. Now here I am with a review for King Kong. So, yeah, I really do love this movie. I mean, this is just a really great movie. This movie was released in 1933, and people today still do love this film. I mean, this film has just really stood the test of time. People really do still love this film. I mean, this is just like such an iconic film. I mean, this is just a really great film. I mean, it's just great. And of course, yeah, King Kong is like one of like the greatest movie characters of all time. I mean, King Kong is along the lines of characters like Godzilla and Frankenstein and just like other like iconic movie characters. I mean, King Kong is really like such a legendary character. I mean, just the giant gorilla from like a remote island, and yeah, just like he gets taken from his natural habitat, and yeah, just yeah. I mean, yeah, you all know the story. Like King Kong is like found in like a remote island, and he's like he's been given like sacrifices by the natives, and then yeah, he like of course like falls in love with the beautiful woman, and but then yeah, then like he gets captured and then taken back to the city, and then yeah, he eventually like breaks free, and then yeah, the city sees him as a threat, and he's eventually destroyed. Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, this film is just like a classic. I mean, this is just like a real masterpiece. And yeah, this film really was the first thing that really did feature King Kong. And yeah, this was just a outstanding masterpiece, and it really did make King Kong like just a big legend in films. Yeah. Yeah, so this is definitely like a really great film, But but then like after this film, like after King Kong, like became like such a huge legend in films. It just seemed like after this, like any like the any other projects that King Kong was in, like a lot of the other films that he was in after this, it just seemed like they were just really trying to just destroy King Kong's legacy and really just degrade it, because I mean, for many years King Kong was really just like in a bunch of crap, really. I mean, yeah, after this, like King Kong was like used in like the Japanese King Kong versus Godzilla film. That wasn't really a very good film. And they also like had like the 1976 King Kong remake, which really sucked too. I mean, that really was a pretty bad film also. And need we forget, like, when Warner Brothers, like, made that kid version, that animated Mighty Kong film, just, oh man, that film was just, yeah, just everything really went wrong with that version. So, yeah, and even, like, there were some other King Kong films that were released between the time that really were really bad also. Like, it seemed like this was really like the only really great film, and really the only good film, um, with King Kong. Like, this was really the only good King Kong film for like many years. Yeah, but luckily, like since like the turn of this century, it seems that King Kong has really been redeemed with film. Because yeah, of course, like they had like the Peter Jackson King Kong movie from 2005, which was really good, and yeah, there was also the Kong Skull Island movie from earlier this year that I saw, and yeah, I thought that was pretty good too. So thankfully, like since the turn of the century, it seems that they really have been like redeeming the name of King Kong in film. But yeah, of course, like nothing has been able to top this version. Like this film still remains the greatest King Kong movie ever made. Yeah, and hopefully they can still continue to really make a good King Kong films with whatever whichever films they make in the future. Because yeah, with like that Kong Skull Island movie is like set in the same universe as the 2014 Godzilla movie was, and yeah, that's of course like leading to like another new Kong versus Godzilla movie, which I'm hoping will be pretty good. But yeah, we're not there to not here to talk about those movies. This is about 1933's King Kong, and yeah, this is just like a really great masterpiece. I mean, I really do love this film, and yeah, this is just like such a great film. I mean, yeah, it does have like a good story to it. I mean, I already talked about this. I mean, yeah, and it does have like I guess some good performances in this film. Yeah, the besides Kong, the only three main characters of this film are Ann Darrow, Carl Denham, and Jack Driscoll, and yeah, they all do like pretty good in this film. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it has Fay Wray as Ann Darrow, and I guess she's good. Although, like, her scream in this movie, it just gets so annoying. I mean, I lost track of how many times that Fay Wray screamed in this film. So yeah, that got pretty annoying. But and yeah, and I really do think that Naomi Watts in the Jackson movie, I think she was a better Anne, but Fay Wray's still good in this film. But yeah, Robert Armstrong and Bruce Cabot as Denham and Driscoll, they're really good in this film, and yeah, they're definitely better than like Adrian Brody and Jack Black in the Peter Jackson movie. So yeah, Robert Armstrong and Bruce Cabot that are still really good too. Yeah, and in this film, the connection between like Kong and Anne, it really doesn't go anywhere. I mean, there's really nothing in this film that really does like bring them closer. Like really in this film, like Anne really doesn't see anything for Kong. I mean, it's not like in the Jackson film where over time like they did really like become closer with each other. Like Vincent Schrader talked about that in his Old versus New when he compared this film to the Jackson film. Yeah, in the Jackson film, like Anne and Kong do have a better connection in that film. Like they actually do have feelings for each other, as opposed to this where yeah, Anne really doesn't have really any feelings towards Kong in this film. But yeah, the story for this film still is done really well. I think the story is done better here than it is in the Jackson films. Like the Jackson film, like it just was way too long. It was like 3 hours long, and yeah, it just really like became really unfocused. This film really is like definitely more focused, and it really does stay on track to the story and stuff. And yeah, I just feel like overall this really does like tell the story better, and yeah, it just has like a real better way of telling the story. So yeah, this is still just a really great film. I would give this film 3.75 stars out of 4. I mean, yeah, this really is a great film, and it really is just a masterpiece. So, yeah, let me just get right into it. Alright, so as the movie opens up, we see that New York director Carl Denham is setting off on a ship for his new film project, but apparently he was unable to actually secure like a leading lady for his film that he really like felt he was forced to add into his script. And since like the voyage was like setting sail on that night, Denham was just like searching through the streets of New York to try to find a woman for his film. And then he eventually came across Ann Darrow, who's really a penniless woman, and he eventually ended up convincing her to join him on the voyage for his film. And then yeah, then like then their voyage then sailed off on the ship, and then eventually like Anne then met at Denham's first mate Jack Driscoll, and at first like Driscoll really liked it was not on board with Anne really joining on the voyage, and he just really didn't think women should really be a part of voyages like this. But over time, like he did like end up like falling in love with Anne, and yeah, they did really become closer. Yeah, really like while in the Jackson film, there was like the both stuff with Anne and Driscoll and with Con. With here, it's really like really just with Anne and Driscoll. Like yeah, like I said earlier, Anne really doesn't have really any feelings for Kong in this film at all. So yeah, the main relationship in this film is with Anne and Driscoll. So yeah, and as they continue to set sail, eventually Denham finally revealed what her destination on the voyage was, and it was an uncharted land known as Skull Island that was shown on a map that Denham had. And as Denham was telling them about the island, he was also explaining about the creature that was rumored to be on the island, which was a legendary entity that was only known as Kong. And eventually they arrive on the island and they anchor offshore. And then, yeah, as they were venturing through the island, they eventually like came across a native village had which had like a full tribe of natives, and it was showing that they were witnessing like the tribe of natives that were like starting to sacrifice a young maiden and stuff. But eventually, like the chief of the native tribe ended up spotting the crew, and then as they stopped the ceremony, the chief was then like confronting the crew, and he then like saw Anne, and then he like wanted the Golden Woman, as he referred to her, and he was offering to trade 6 of his tribe women for Anne, but yeah, Denham like ended up turning it down, and then they just ended up returning back to their ship. And then later that night, as Anne was by herself, and then the natives then like tracked them back to their ship and then kidnapped Anne. And yeah, and once like Driscoll, Denham, and the rest of the crew on the ship found that Anne was missing and that the natives were having a ceremony take place, they then ventured back onto the island and village to try to rescue Anne. And then the children, the natives then were tying Anne to an altar, and then she was being offered as a sacrifice to Kong, and then we finally did see like the big reveal of Kong, which was he was just a enormous sized gorilla, or well, an enormous sized ape, yeah. And then after like Anne like broke free from the altar, Kong then just picked up Anne and then he just carried her off into the jungle, yeah. And then yeah, the rest of the crew like gave chase to Kong to try to rescue Anne. And then like they when like with like Driscoll and Denham like taking some of the crew into the jungle to rescue her, and they like came across like some like dinosaur creatures as they were journeying through the jungle. They had like a Stegosaurus and a Brontosaurus and like other creatures like that, yeah. And then they eventually like ended up like encountering Kong, and Kong like was trying to like shake them off of a tree that was like bridging a ravine, and then like a lot of the crew was ended up like being killed, but yeah, it turned out that only Driscoll and Denham were the only survivors. Yeah. And then like it eventually showed like a T-Rex was like pursuing Anne, but then like Kong ended up like fighting off the T-Rex and ended up like killing it, but and just like broke its neck and jaw. Yeah. And then and after like Kong brought Anne to like his lair in like a cave in a mountain, and there was like an Elasmosaurus that was trying to attack Anne, and then Kong was like fighting with the Elasmosaurus as well, and eventually killed it. And then eventually, like Driscoll ended up like reaching Anne, and he tried to take her away with him, and they were starting to climb down a vine that was dangling from the ledge of a cliff. But then Kong then like noticed Driscoll and Anne climbing, and he was like grabbed the vine and started to pull it back up. But then, yeah, Driscoll and Anne just ended up like letting go and falling into the water. Yeah, and then they eventually like raced back to the village, and then yeah, Denim and the rest of the crew were waiting for them. But then like Kong gave chase, and then he was just like rampaging through the village, and then eventually like Denim then just ended up like knocking Kong out with some gas bombs. Yeah, and then Denim then ended up bringing Kong back to New York, and then yeah, Denim was then just presenting Kong to the city of New York in a Broadway theater, and yeah, Kong was like shackled in some chrome steel chains, but then like after like Denim then like was bringing out Anne and Driscoll on stage, and then there were some press photographers that were like taking pictures of Kong, but then Kong was like seeing the flash photography as an attack, and then he broke loose from the chains, and then was just rampaging through the city. And yeah, Driscoll was trying to get Anne to safety in a high hotel room, but Kong was then climbing the building and eventually found Anne. And then Kong like ended up like knocking Driscoll out, and then he grabbed Anne and continued to go through the city with her. Yeah. And it showed like Kong then was like wrecking through a crowded like a train, and he eventually ended up climbing to the top of the Empire State Building. Yeah. And then once Kong reached the top, he was then like shot down by some observation aircraft planes, and then yeah, Kong was doing battle with the planes, and then yeah, they were just continuing to shoot at him. Kong was able to take out one of the planes, and then yeah, the rest of the planes then just ended up like shooting and Kong down, and then Kong then eventually just ended up like he picked up Anne one more time and then just put her down after like looking at her, and then he eventually just ended up falling all those feet down to his death. Yeah. And then yeah, then Sheldon Driscoll then made it to the top of the Empire State Building also and reunited with Anne, and then it just showed Kong's dead body in the ground, and many of the New Yorkers were surrounding it. And then it then showed Denim then arriving also, and a policeman then just told old Denim that the airplanes got him, and then yeah, Denim then just said it wasn't the airplanes, it was Beauty killed the Beast. And that's how it ended. So, yeah, 3.75 stars out of 4. Definitely a really great movie, and yeah, Kong in this film is just like, he is a really good Kong, despite the fact that his movements really aren't very good, and it's basically just like, not, yeah, and especially like when you see it today, like, the effects really are not that good, but back in the day, like, back when this one was released, like, these effects were actually like really impressive. Yeah, I mean, Natasha could have talked about that in his old versus new of this and the Jackson film, like, despite the fact that like, the effects really are not really anything compared to the effects we have today. Like, for the time, they were still, like, really impressive, and especially, like, with the work they put into it. You can get, like, go watch Nostalgia Critic's old versus new of this film and the Jackson film to, like, hear more about this on what he talked about in that. Yeah, I mean, I really don't think I should really be repeating everything he said, but, yeah, you can go watch his video and just see, like, how he feels about the effects and how they really are, like, still, like, really good for the time. But yeah, this is still like a really great movie, and yeah, Kong is like really good in this film. Yeah, it's just because like he just seems like really helpless, especially when he goes to New York, and yeah, he's really just really not that smart, and yeah, he just like feels just seems like really to be like just more of like an actual animal rather than a human, like it was in the Jackson film and stuff. But yeah, Kong's really good, and yeah, the performances from like Fay Wray, Robert Armstrong, and Bruce Cabot, they're like pretty good performances. So yeah, definitely like a really great film, and yeah, definitely like a really great masterpiece, especially still like it holds up still today. So yeah, definitely a really great film. Alright, so yeah, that does it for my review of King Kong. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.